The Democrats' favorite rising star stumbled over her own questions, turning what should have been a simple slam dunk on a bank CEO into a full-on faceplant. That's why we're dissecting this whole...
I'm sorry, I'm just having a tough time. And so we are looking, and so we're...
whole issue today. We employ common sense instead of party cheerleading. If you think independently, then hit the subscribe button and let's get started. This is the brief background. The CES Act...
awareness, your banks have opted out of Paycheck Protection Program forgiveness,
Excuse me, that is incorrect.
with the portal with the SBA. Thank you. I was trying to finish my sentence. Now, I would like to zero in a little bit on Bank of America. Mr. Moynihan, are you aware of how many PPP loans your bank has facilitated on behalf of its customers?
About 400 and almost 500,000, and 95% are forgiven or repaid already. And we're finishing up the rest of them.
How many of those loans, in terms of the percentage, have those loans been forgiven in?
Act created the Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP, as a $670 billion lifeline to sustain companies during the epidemic. The transaction was simple. Give money so businesses may continue to pay their employees. Additionally, the loan was forgiven if the funds were used for authorized costs. Simple, isn't it? PPP did, however, save nearly 3 million jobs per week in Q2 of 2020 and 1.75 million per week by Q4, according to a research that was often quoted. However, the same research also noted that the program was expensive and that, shockingly, company owners ended up keeping a large portion of the profits. That's a rabbit hole for another video, however. The reason the AOC was questioning this in the first place was because certain banks, including Bank of America, were reportedly being too forgiving and said that some companies had received too much. The only issue was that she wasn't prepared for the pushback, and her cross-examination gradually began to resemble an unscripted comedy routine.
Bank of America had pre-populated a forgiveness amount in their portal, sometimes drastically lower than small business owners had anticipated and had qualified for. And in instances where these small business owners have documentation, there's very little recourse or appeal. Does your portal make it easy to appeal their decisions so that after 2 attempts, the SBA can then take over the case?
Borrowers can appeal. 95% of the loans are forgiven and repaid today, so we're only talking about 5% of the loans, and a substantial part of those are going through the appeal process as we speak. And so the borrowers can appeal, and we're in the process of finishing up that last 20,000 or so loan.
Although the CEO maintained composure, let's not act as if this was a little matter. For it, Bank of America was actually hit with a lawsuit. This was the perfect opportunity to question him and walk out a news machine if AOC had done her research. She attempted to market it as if she had solved the case herself, but in reality, she essentially rewrote a piece from The Intercept word for word. We're dealing with that energy here. You could tell she was looking for a viral video as soon as she sat down. It was all watch me drop the mic, the posture, the tone. She obviously believed that, as the people's champion, she would win a few clever gotchas and experience the dopamine rush of Twitter praise. That script went directly to the shredder, spoiler warning. And if you thought what we've seen so far was embarrassing, get ready for a major narrative twist in her next question.
Is the 90, I apologize, not to, belabor the point, but is that 95% a partial loan forgiveness or a full loan forgiveness rate?
They're getting what the borrowers are applying for the forgiveness entitled in the program. 95% of them have gone through or repaid, and the vast majority of them are full forgiveness, but they're entitled to what the program designed. The government designed a program, and we implemented the program very short notice. 500,000 people, 10,000 people working on this program. And so we're finishing that up. It's just let the process go, and a lot of what you're reading, frankly, is not the facts because it's old. It doesn't understand how the math works, and so just give us some time.
We're often taught that banking math is just too difficult for us common people. A well-prepared legislator, however, might have sliced right through the smoke cover and rammed it home in this one of the few occasions. AOC may have been able to uncover what Bank of America was really doing if she had done even the most basic preparation. Rather, she fumbled it away after tripping over her own shoelaces. Furthermore, she has a history of squandered opportunities. After the Cambridge Analytica scandal, do you recall Mark Zuckerberg sitting on the hot seat? AOC asked a number of ill-defined questions about Facebook's advertising guidelines. Like he was slapping flies, Zuck just dodged them with evasive non-answers. But for some reason, it was deemed a victory. As a spoiler, it wasn't. No responsibility, no answers, just a bunch of nonsense masquerading as advancement. Time travel to this most recent hearing. Alexandria's steam was already running low. Then she struck that spot, the one that seemed more like a blue screen in her head than a power move. Even other pundits on the other side of the aisle have noted that
America chose to opt out of the SBA portal.
Whether, I told you before, I'm not sure we did or didn't, and I have no idea why they would have made the decision, but we are processing loans as fast as anybody.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I'm just having a tough time. This is about $25.2 billion in loan amounts in your bank, correct? And
Not anymore. No, it's down.
but at one point in time. And so we are looking, you're uncertain as to why the bank has not chosen to enroll in the SBA portal?
I said we will get you the information. The amount of loans we have left on this thing is $1 billion or so. It's down to very little amount.
No worries.
It's all paid back.
this trend, if you feel that I'm being too harsh on her, check out what Bill Maher said on his program. We need more of that type of ruthless honesty. Furthermore, the
fact that the people who are getting the big crowds right now are AOC and Bernie Sanders. They're going around the country. Thank you, there's that same guy. I call him the always wrong guy. Okay, but I feel like, big crowds, again, the shiny object that the Democrats chase. It's not about the big crowds that come out to you when you're talking in a festival or wherever they are. I think it's because I think Bernie showed up at Coachella. That must have been fun for the fans. It's who shows up on Election Day. And I just don't see that's the ticket. I mean, Cory Booker, I know you've worked with him. I like Cory a lot from my home state in New Jersey. Made a speech for 25 hours. Again, just whacking each other off. This is just not what's going to get the job.
The hearing serves as a great microcosm of the reasons why Congress is now stumbling along. Even passing a simple budget measure becomes a last-minute circus show because of how dysfunctional the institution is. It wasn't until the final minute that lawmakers agreed. Furthermore, that isn't governance. Clinging on by the fingernails is what it is. Which begs the more important question. Doesn't Congress itself need to be in the forefront of the reset if we're serious about getting our nation back on track? It wouldn't be easy, of course, but that's the main problem. Because it's not just one person's blind spot when a current congressman is unable to comprehend how banks really operate after those same institutions contributed to one of the worst financial catastrophes in recent history. That is a red flag. What does it leave us with, then? Congress may or may not make amendments. In any case, it is worthwhile to inquire about the direction things are going.